Coming up, what parking changes could be coming to Iowa City. Then, Iowa's lieutenant governor surprisingly resigns.
Later, a school shooting rocks Georgia.
All that and a profile on a presidential nominee. Important dates this week in history, along with making sure your facts are straight.
Also, where the presidential nominees have been during their campaign trails, the latest from polls, and something for you to consider.
Good evening and welcome back to the first update of the new school year, your home for news and politics.
From the local level to nationwide, we're keeping you up to date. I'm Jordan Tovar.
And I'm Johnny Valtman. And Jordan, it just feels so good to be back. This is the first time I've worn a suit in 4 months.
Well, Johnny, I'm a hot-blooded American. I think it's been too hot this summer for me to wear a suit. And Johnny, before we start off, let me just say I've missed you so much.
I missed you too, Jordan, but enough small talk. We got a lot to catch up on with our first edition back. Jordan, starting at local, what do you got for us?
Well, Johnny, right off the bat, Iowa City is looking to redevelop a lot that has sat empty since 2021 on 212 Lynn Street. The space, located by iconic Iowa City landmarks like the Englert Theater, has sat empty for nearly 3 years after it was purchased by real estate company CA Ventures. CA Ventures would end up selling the lot back to Iowa City in 2023 after deciding to pull out of the project. Fast forward a year to yesterday, where Iowa City released a request for proposals on what to do with the empty space. Proposals are due by November 1st, with the city looking to make a decision on the final project by 2025. The Iowa City City Council is looking to make more parking changes after backlash from its citizens. At Tuesday's City Council meeting, members voted to lower parking rates 6-1. The only dissenting vote was Councilor Andrew Dunn, who cited budget constraints and a loss of $300K in revenue for the city for his reasons. Members of the Iowa City Downtown District hope that the City Council can find a way to ease the losses.
We continue to hear from our businesses, our partners, community members, and visitors on this issue, and we really think that this further will enhance downtown Iowa City, making it more welcoming and accessible for both residents and visitors.
Now, Johnny, it's been an absolutely scorching start around city politics, and I'm sure the state's been much of the same.
Yes, Jordan, over the summer, it was scorching with some of the stuff that was going on at the state legislature. So we're going to toss it to Grace, who's going to catch us up on what happened over the summer and also what's going on right now around Iowa.
Thanks, Johnny. On the state level, Iowa's lieutenant governor shockingly resigned on Tuesday. In a statement to the press, Governor Reynolds said, quote, "Adam has been a tremendous partner and an important part of my team over the last 7 years, and I greatly appreciate his service to Iowans." Greg was appointed by Reynolds when she became the governor in 2017. Greg stated that he feels his time in public service must come to a close. This season of my life needs to be focused on my family. Greg will immediately be taking a new position as the new president and CEO of Iowa Bankers Association. Governor Reynolds can appoint a new lieutenant governor to fill the position for the remainder of the term. Iowa is seeing a massive change to their ballots in the upcoming November election. Congressional Libertarian candidates Nicholas Gluba, Marco Battaglia, and Charles Aldrich all have been removed from the November election ballot. The state panel, which is currently dominated by Republicans, voted on this decision last Wednesday. The panel ruled that the Libertarian Party did not follow proper procedures when nominating candidates for office. This change could be harmful for the future of Iowa's Libertarian Party, as chair member Jules Cutler argued that this is a silencing mechanism and a method to control who the people can and cannot vote for. However, the 3 candidates are planning to appeal to the courts. If they are unsuccessful, the candidates plan to run write-in campaigns for Congress in the fall. Switching gears, while we were away this summer, Iowa saw some major changes to the state's abortion law in July. A law to ban abortions after the 6-week mark was signed by Governor Kim Reynolds in July of 2023. However, it was not until just this July that the law took effect. After facing multiple legal challenges, physicians can no longer administer an abortion after a fetal heartbeat is detected in the state of Iowa. This bill does include a few exceptions, including victims of rape and incest. Women suffering from medical emergencies that could endanger their lives are also immune from the bill. This is quite the change for Iowans, as originally abortions were considered legal up until the 20-week mark. This leaves some Iowans wanting an abortion to have to go beyond the state lines. Jordan and Johnny, I'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Grace. And Jordan, with things going on in Johnson County and around the state, you'd kind of think that stuff would just kind of cool off as, of course, fall is coming soon.
Well, Johnny, you'd think things would cool down, but just like global warming in our country and around the world, it's getting hot.
Yes, Jordan, and speaking of the world, we're going to send it to the newsroom where DITV's Jayce Bertrand is going to give us a rundown on everything national and what's going on around the world.
Now, Jayce, it's been a long summer, and now that we're back, how's it looking around the country and the world?
Well, Jordan, you're right. It has been a very long summer, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit I was thinking about you guys more often than I want to admit. But we know that news never takes a break, and we have breaking news before we began recording. Yesterday, a mass shooting occurred down in Appalachia, Georgia. At the time of recording, 2 students and 2 teachers are dead and 9 were injured at the Appalachia High School. A suspect is in custody and currently there is no known motive. Schools in and around Atlanta are increasing security at school campuses following the shooting. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is sending all available resources to the town.
I'm devastated for the families who have been affected by this terrible tragedy. The Justice Department stands ready to provide any resources or support that the Winder community needs in the days ahead.
Bombing in Kiev yesterday, killing at least 7 people. One of the victims was a 14-year-old girl as the attack hit residential buildings, schools, and medical facilities, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Another attack injured 5 people on Kiev in central Ukraine as a hotel building was destroyed. Protesters in Israel continue to protest for a ceasefire, calling on Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to a ceasefire with Hamas after 6 hostages were found dead over the weekend. Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke to reporters yesterday, claiming that Hamas is the reason a ceasefire deal has not yet been met.
I said I'm willing to make a deal. The real obstacle to making a deal is not Israel. And it's not me. It's Hamas. It's Sinwar.
The United States seized Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's plane in the Dominican Republic on Monday. Maduro recently won the Venezuelan presidency in a controversial election, which continues to be disputed. U.S. officials responded to the seizure that they are sending a clear message that no one is above the law or reach of U.S. sanctions. And with the 2 wars going on the other side of the world and news always coming in from across the country, I'll be following what's going on, but for now, I'm sending it back to Johnny and Jordan in the studio.
Now, it's been an absolutely crazy summer, and Johnny, I mean, that was just the last week.
Yes, Jordan, it was a wild summer in the political world, and since we were not able to keep you up to date throughout the summer twisters, we're going to catch you up real quick on some major events that shook the summer world. May 30th, Donald Trump was found guilty on all 34 counts stemming from his hush money case, the first time ever a former president was convicted of a crime. June 27th, in the first presidential debate, Joe Biden struggled against Trump. Both candidates told a slew of lies, but it was Biden's inability to finish some answers to questions and rambling on and off certain subjects that led to some panic in the Democratic Party. Then we jump to July 1st, the Supreme Court ruled that presidents have immunity for actions they commit in office, but do not have immunity from their actions outside of the White House. Then about 2 weeks later, July 13th, Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania at a campaign rally. The assassin killed a member of the crowd and wounded Trump in the ear. The fallout of the attempt led to the Secret Service director resigning and a huge shakeup within that organization. On July 15th, Donald Trump's classified document case was dismissed. Later that day, the Republican National Convention, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance beat out Doug Burgum and Marco Rubio to be Donald Trump's running mate on the Republican ticket. Going a little bit further into July 21st, after a posse of Democrats began asking for President Joe Biden to drop out of the race, the president announced he was no longer seeking re-election, endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris, to the vacant nomination. Then on August 19th through the 22nd, the Democratic National Convention, Vice President Kamala Harris faced little opposition as she was picked to be the Democrat selection for president following an online roll call. Harris then picked Minnesota Governor Mike Walz as her running mate. On August 23rd, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suspended his campaign and endorsed Donald Trump for president. There were reports before he suspended his campaign that both Trump and Harris offered Kennedy a cabinet position. Kennedy, as of now, will still show up on over 20 state ballots across the country. And Jordan, there is still some more things to come, such as a presidential debate, a vice presidential debate, and at the time of recording, Trump's sentencing on September 18th from the 34 charges he was convicted of back in May.
Johnny, I mean, oh my gosh, that's so much. I'm amazed you even held your breath throughout that.
Oh, I was trying my hardest just to get through that, Jordan, because that was a lot to catch up on. But speaking of nominees for both parties, I think someone has an update for us.
Yes, presenting this week's candidate profile, we have making her the update debut tonight, Hannah Lipski.
46 days ago, Vice President Kamala Harris began her presidential campaign after Joe Biden's exit on July 20th. Since then, all eyes have been on her policies, and past. Before Harris was the first woman, Black American, and Asian American vice president, she had a long legal career. Harris was born October 20th, 1964 in Oakland, California. Both of her parents immigrated to America for college, attending University of California, Berkeley. Her mother from India and father from Jamaica. She attended Vanier College in Montreal, then transferred to Howard University in Washington, D.C., then studied law at University of California in San Francisco. Harris was a California district attorney from 1990 to 1998. She served Alameda County, California, then elected San Francisco District Attorney in 2024, where she ran the Children and Families Division, then became California Attorney General in 2011 until 2016 when she was elected to the U.S. Senate. She kept her seat until her vice presidency on the Biden ticket. She is the highest serving woman in the United States. Harris is running her campaign as tough on crime. Some of her policies on hot-button issues include being pro-choice, a ceasefire in Gaza and a two-state solution, tax cuts for the middle class as well as a progressive tax, and environmental protections and stricter gun laws. Harris is running a campaign on positivity and hope. She is also younger than Trump, and she's playing into that. Engaging a lot on social media, mostly TikTok, she's reaching Gen Z who make up 41 million votes this election. Now toss it over to Grace for some campaign updates.
Thanks, Hannah. And the presidential nominees are on the move. Kamala Harris has recently launched her reproductive rights bus campaign tour, starting off in Palm Beach, Florida, which happens to be President Trump's home turf. Harris, along with other Florida Democrats, spoke at the convention criticizing Trump's stances on reproductive rights. Harris and allies bashed the former president by calling him a hypocrite, liar, and extremist.
What better place to kick off the Harris Walls Reproductive Freedom Bus Tour than in Donald Trump's backyard?
He is the one who got us into this mess. He's the one who has clearly stated, on video just last year, that he was proudly the one responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade. And Florida, you are going to hold him to it.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is heading to Pennsylvania to speak at a town hall event that aired last night on Fox News. Trump's running mate J.D. Vance is currently campaigning in Arizona while Trump takes on the East Coast. This comes a month after Robert F. Kennedy Jr. officially suspended his campaign and threw his support behind Trump. Kennedy is now attempting to remove his name from 10 key swing states. However, Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina are contesting this withdrawal. Michigan is blocking the withdrawal because his party, the Natural Law Party, has already passed their nomination period. While Wisconsin state law declares that no nominee of an official party can refuse said nomination. North Carolina is contesting the withdrawal because they already sent out the absentee ballots with Kennedy's name on them. While the presidential candidates are campaigning as much as they can before the big debate next week, several key states are still anyone's game come November, especially with Kennedy's inclusion on the ballot. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Hannah and Grace. And Jordan, just hearing all this on presidential nominee talk, I've been thinking, I think we're missing something from the update right now.
Yeah, Johnny, I mean, nominees are always moving all around the country, and wouldn't you know it, Johnny, so are the polls. It's certainly been a busy summer in the race for the presidency, and of course, it's going to sway how people vote. I mean, Donald Trump got shot, Joe Biden and RFK Jr. dropped out, and so much going on to affect these numbers, but all that matters is the here and now, however. YouGov did a poll asking people whether they would vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump for president. Before Biden withdrew, he was in an edge-off every week with Donald Trump in the polls. With Harris stepping up for the Dems, the trend of razor-thin margins is continuing. Harris currently holds the lead over Trump, polling in at 47% and 45% respectively. Now we're going to bring it back here to our home state of Iowa for some approval ratings of state senators. According to the Des Moines Register polls, nearly half of the state approves of the jobs that Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst have been doing recently. Grassley polls in at 48%, with Ernst just above him at 49%. And as more polling information comes out, they're going to be updating the Iowa polls, but it's been a while. It's been since June, Johnny, since they've updated it.
Yes, Jordan, and that's a little bit of history. And unfortunately, I won't be the middle school history teacher this week. We're going to send it over to Hannah, and she's going to tell you about some important dates that happened this week in history.
This week in history, America was founded. September 3rd, 1783, Great Britain and the colonies signed the Treaty of Paris, officially ending the Revolutionary War. Great Britain had to withdraw from the colonies, and the United States of America was then recognized as an independent nation. Furthermore, the new nation was given an unprecedented amount of land past the Ohio River Valley, an issue which helped spark the Revolution in the first place. However, several issues such as fishing rights were not settled, which would later spark the War of 1812. September 2nd, 1945, Japan surrenders, ending World War II. The atomic bombs were dropped less than a month before on August 6th and 9th. The U.S. bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bombs were initially developed to be used on Germany. However, the war in Europe ended earlier than anticipated, with the death of Adolf Hitler and the capturing of Berlin by the Soviet Union. The bombs were later used on Japan. This, along with the USSR beginning their invasion of Manchuria, eventually led to the total surrender of Japan. September 4th, 1998, Google was founded. Stanford PhD students Sergey Brin and Larry Page founding an empire. They currently own Google's parent company, Alphabet, and the tech giant is worth $1.934 trillion. This was a busy week in history. Now back to you guys.
Thanks, Hannah. And Jordan, with a lot of history, people always got to fact check that stuff because you never know what they try to squeeze into those history books.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm certainly left feeling a lot more enlightened than I was coming in.
Yes, and so to make sure the modern history is getting checked, we're going to send it back out to Jason in the newsroom for fact check.
Thanks, Johnny, and buckle up because this week we're going into a rabbit hole that involves a town in Colorado, a Venezuelan cartel, and a motorcycle club. After a video went viral on Twitter showing alleged members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua entering an apartment in Aurora, Colorado toting guns, allegations emerged that the gang had taken the entire complex hostage, charging tenants for ransom money. This video was shared by known truth skirter Elon Musk, who regarded the allegations as fact. Rumors emerged following the post that claimed members of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club were moving towards Aurora in a caravan to combat the gang. Shortly after the firestorm began online, the Aurora Police Department released a statement denying the claims and stating that while Tren de Aragua's presence had emerged in the town, there was no evidence that members had taken over an apartment complex and that residents within the complex denied being charged for ransom. There's also no evidence to suggest a large number of Hells Angels members riding towards Aurora. Furthermore, the motorcycle club has been involved in their fair share of controversies and crimes, most recently in June of this year, where an entire chapter of Hells Angels was charged with kidnapping, robbery, assault with a firearm, and elder abuse. So if people online are looking for a great savior against a violent gang of criminals, they might be looking in the wrong place. Most people without hobbies would probably love for a grand Venezuelan conspiracy to be true to give some excitement in their lives, but in my opinion, the most fun you can ever have is telling the truth. So I'm going to keep checking these facts, and for now I'm going to send it back to Johnny and Jordan in the studio.
Thanks, Jayce. I like those tidbits there. And Jordan, sometimes I feel journalists, they sometimes don't report the right things or spread some things that aren't entirely true.
Yeah, Johnny, I feel like we kind of get a bad rap for lying sometimes. But, on another note, I've really just been missing you, Johnny, and I've been dying to hear what's on your mind.
Well, Jordan, I have something for you to consider tonight, because right now both presidential nominees have not been kind to the press, and the press has not been doing their job. Something I would like both to consider is to learn how to get along. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz recently sat down for their one-on-one exclusive interview with CNN. This was the first time since she and her running mate have been named to the Democrats' ticket for president. That is about a month span. While Donald Trump has held numerous press conferences and one-on-one interviews, he continually takes shots at the press, ripping their accountability. Now, I feel the goal of journalists should be able to relay stories factually, accurately, and with no bias. But the growth of yellow journalism continues to stain the trust between the press and the public. The bad eggs are staining an ability for not only normal-day people, but politicians to trust reporters to report an honest story. Polls have shown that there is a general distrust in both the government and journalism. Only 22% of Americans replied in April that they have invested trust in the government. In May, an AP poll found that around half of Americans believe that the news reports are inaccurate information or disinformation. Both nominees need to understand that speaking to journalists is a vital commodity to the nation. Whenever the president has something to say, they turn to journalists to relay their message to the nation. Both have a common goal of keeping the people informed. Whatever animosity or bad blood needs to be resolved on both sides. The sooner the nominees and journalists can put the water under the bridge and begin working on a healthy relationship, everyone will benefit from, Jordan.
Well said, Johnny.
Yes, Jordan. And we'd like to thank you for tuning in to the update tonight, where you'll find all your news and politics.
Tune in next week for more updates from the local level to the nationwide level.
So good to be back, Jordan. And in November, we have an election, so you want to keep updated with us. So from the update, I'm Johnny Valtman.
And I'm Jordan Tovar. Have a wonderful night.